Traveling in Athens.
Provided by MBRC Travel.
Transportation in Athens include walking, wagons, carts pulled by oxen or mule, carriages, mules, donkeys, horses, but only if you are wealthy, boats with the risk of pirates, rocky shorelines, and sailors, roads unpaved, often damaged.
How are people treated?
Men's rights.
Men had a very important role in public life. They were engaged in politics and public events. They also were involved in the Olympic Games, but men were the only people who were involved in the Olympic Games.
Women's rights.
Women did not have many rights. Once they were married, they stayed at home to take care of the house and children. They could not vote or attend assemblies. Usually, they couldn't choose their own husband. They couldn't own or inherit their property. Few women had jobs, but a few important women were priestesses. Women had their own rooms in their houses, and they spent their days spinning, weaving, supervising slaves, and educating children.
Rights.
Slaves were very common in Athens. Most people had at least one slave, except for the poor. Slaves were either born into slavery or captured in war. They did many jobs, some requiring a lot of skills. They either ran households, tutored children, worked as a craftsman, worked on farms, worked in factories, worked as clerks for city-states, or sometimes they worked in the silver mines, which was one of the hardest jobs a slave could ever have.
What is the government like? What is the government like?
The government was a democracy. It was a council of 500. They met every day on a hill. They were 30-year-old or older. They became a democracy in 500 BCE. All free men above 18 were allowed to vote. They had meetings and voted and debated on laws. Assembly created 462. All male citizens could join, but no women or slaves, even if they were men.
What is the culture like?
The culture was that they believed individuals should be free as long as they acted within the laws of Greece. They also prayed to Athena and asked her to stop the wars and prevent them. But they also loved the arts and music.
How's the education?
Boys' education. So for their sports, they had coaches like wrestling and gymnastics. Boys would study music and learn how to play the lyre. When boys turned 18, they would join in military training. For girls, they didn't have a lot of education. They wouldn't learn how to read or write. They were taught by their mothers to cook, clean, spin, thread, and weave. Some people would learn songs and dances. They got married around 15. Wealthy people didn't really get a chance with their husbands, but poor girls had more of a choice.
will you stay? Ding!
There were many inns in Athens, most different for different prices. People who were poor would have low prices, but they would have low quality inns. People who were wealthy had way better inns, but they were pricier.
What will you do there?
There were Olympic Games that were the greatest national festival for the Athens. They were held every 4 years in honor of the god Zeus. If they won, they were granted all the Greeks. There is also a marketplace where you can get things needed for your stay.